Good morning, everyone. I'm just gonna wait for a few more people to join, and then we'll get started in a bit on the pre-market watch list. Good morning, everyone. Looks like we have a few more people that joined, so we'll get started here pretty soon on the watch list. So far we do have some nice potential today, though. We do have a couple gappers, Ppsi, IMGN, so things are looking pretty active here towards the open. We obviously still have like an hour until the market opens. Right now I'm watching this NLSP. We just made a pretty big move there. But yeah, I'm just gonna wait a little bit longer and then I'm gonna go over all the stocks on my watch list. If you guys have any stocks you want me to take a look at, you can just leave a comment in the YouTube chat and I'll take a look at it as well. Good morning, everyone. Alright, I'm going to go ahead now and finally get started on this pre-market watch list. I wanted to just wait a little bit more towards the market open, but we still have like 40 minutes. But I'm just going to go ahead and go over the watch list and everything really quickly. So I made a watch list last night for the members. So we'll go over the watch list first, and then after that we'll go over all the gappers. So the first one I had on my watch list was actually this Ispc. For me, this has been a really trappy name on both sides, but it's been holding up pretty well. So for me to be more long biased on this one, if this can maybe reclaim above this $24 level, if that level turns into support, I would definitely keep an open bias on this. Kind of looks like it could, it's kind of forming like this flag from yesterday. So at the moment, I do have an open bias. I believe this one can break out higher. Looking at the daily, we have 28.98 as the all-time highs right here. So we'll see if this one traps again and tries to squeeze. I'm probably just going to set a price alert here towards this 24, and then if it pops up later on, I'll definitely be watching that. On the flip side, if it rejects 24 again and then stays heavy, forms a lower high under this 22, then we might get a pullback down to this area. But for right now, I do have an open bias. The next one on the watch list was Cpix. I actually noticed this one was gapping up in the after hours yesterday, so I added that to the watch list. We topped out at this 550 area. And right now we're kind of trading towards 4. So it already made a big move. When I woke up or got to my desk, I think it was around this time. So it had already broken down a lot. I really didn't want to chase it on the short side. So hopefully we can get a nice reclaim towards the market open. We'll see. But I'm definitely not going to short it down here. It's just too much of a chase for me. And I feel like it could kind of trap and spike up towards the open. So we'll see on that one. I did look at the filings though on Cpix. I'm just using Flash SEC. But they do have an active shelf with 100 million in remaining shelf value. So this one also has potential dilution. On this one as well. So that was another reason why I was already pretty short biased. Let me take a look at the daily again. So yeah, that 4 is kind of a big level, and then we have a lot of support maybe towards 360, 350 area. So that would be my last target really on the short side, but it looks like it wants to kind of curl back up. So I'm going to wait on this one. Hopefully it gives us another opportunity later on. I'm going to set a few price alerts on this one, just in case. The next one I had on my watch list last night was Ppsi. We saw this one running up, in the yesterday we saw this one running up in the afternoon. And then I also saw this gap up in after hours, so that's why I had it on my watch list. Pretty big move here already in pre-market. We're already, so far we hit 13 and then pulled back pretty hard there. When you look at this daily chart and even the weekly chart, we do have some big levels here. What was the high of this? Okay. So, yeah, we have a lot of resistance towards this 1240. And I believe that was actually the previous all-time highs was 1240s. So let's mark that level right here. And as you can see, we did reject that level, tried to break back up above it, and rejected lower high. So it's not looking too good at the moment for longs on this one. But it's not completely over. You know, this could easily reclaim and then break out again. So in my opinion, it's a little bit too early to tell because it's still pretty early in pre-market. But the key levels I would mark, definitely this 1150 to 12. If that starts to kind of reclaim and we can build back above 12 or towards 12, then I would still keep an open bias for a potential breakout again. This one does have a lower float as well. I think it's like 4 million. But yeah, at the moment, it is looking a little bit bearish with this lower high. So I also wouldn't be surprised if this pulls back a little bit further. Let me take a look at a few things as well. And I'm also looking at the filings. Let me just check really quickly. It does look like they do have an active shelf with 25 million in remaining shelf value. So there is a little bit of potential dilution on this one as well. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this one plays out. This is definitely going to be a top watch as well towards the open, but I think I'm going to wait on that one as well. CNTX was on the watch list. Not a lot of volume there. If this one kind of pops up later on with more volume, then I'll keep it on watch. And then we have the secondary list as well. So a few stocks that I was watching from yesterday. This ADGI made a really big move yesterday in the morning, pulled back, and then closed kind of strong, and we're gapping up this morning. So this is definitely one to keep on watch. If we can hold this $50 level, I can see this one potentially trying to break out higher. So that's something I'll be watching on the side. KRYS kind of popped up yesterday, so still have that one on my watch list as well. I might set a price alert maybe towards 95. PTPI, this is another watch for me. This was really in play yesterday. I did take a few trades on it. Got chopped up a few times in this range here. I actually shorted it right here, covered into some on this little drop, and then I got chopped up a little bit, left it alone, and then it ended up breaking out. It had a lot of volume yesterday. So I left it alone, and then I actually came back and caught this short on this backside, so I caught a nice move there. But, you know, it's looking pretty bearish at the moment since we broke under this $4 level. So if it kind of pops up and rejects and then forms lower highs, you know, you could potentially look for a short to kind of fade this back down to these lower levels, maybe towards 340s or 320s if it really dies off. But if this pops over 420 again, and then this 420 level turns into support, you can see it also lines up with this VWAP here from yesterday. If that level turns into support, I would not want to be involved in the short because it could set up for another breakout potentially. So I'm kind of open to both sides on that one, but at the moment it does look pretty weak in pre-market. just a few more from the watch list. BFRI is one we've been watching pretty actively. It has a lot of range, but yesterday it really faded off hard, and we're just kind of trading sideways here. So we'll see if this maybe gets some volume into the open and get a spike towards that 750 level. I'm just gonna set a few price alerts on that one. When it comes to the short on this one, I would definitely be careful down here, because I feel like they could kind of trap at this big support level towards 640. You saw what happened yesterday when they had that offering and it held this exact level, had a really big breakout. So I wouldn't rule that out on BFRI. LGVN, this stock's been kind of just choppy the last few days and fading back down. So I'm a little bit more short biased on LGVN, but you know, if it breaks this upper trend line, I could see a small bounce here potentially as well. So it really just depends how it reacts towards the open. I probably wouldn't trade these ones in pre-market here. There's not really any volume either. But that was pretty much everything from my watch list that I made last night. In terms of the gappers that we have this morning, I already went over Cpix. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't be shorting it down here just because it already had this big sell-off. So I'm hoping for a spike into the open. So far, we do have this little bounce to VWAP here. This is kind of a big level towards 420. So we'll see how it reacts. I already went over Ppsi. IMGN, this one's kind of interesting as well. It is a bigger float though. I'm showing around 200 million on the float. Let's take a look at the daily chart as well. So we have a big level here at $7. You can see that right there, which we're actually trading at right now. We topped out at 744 so far. This one's actually easy to borrow at my broker. So anyone can short this at my broker without having to pay a borrow fee. So that makes sense because, like I said earlier, it has a really big float. But yeah, looking at the resistance levels, we have a big level here at 7, which we're testing. We have another big level towards 8. Basically all these whole numbers all the way up to like 11. But if this $7 can hold as support, maybe we can break out higher. So for now, I do have an open bias. As long as we can build above the $7, we'll see if it can potentially break out later on. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a decent watch, I think, towards the open. IMGN. If this kind of spiked up as well and then rejected and formed a lower high, I'd also be open to the short. So I have an open bias. I'm hoping it can push up higher to maybe these bigger levels on the daily. And if it does that, I'd probably look for a short setup later on. But for right now in pre-market, if it keeps building up higher lows towards these like above 7, then I'll keep an open bias for now. Fwbi. I was pretty short biased on this one earlier. with this extension that we had towards the 320. If you look at my daily chart as well, the last bigger volume day we had was right here, and it spiked up to 360, and you can see that volume bar with 20 million. So I was looking at that volume bar, thinking that that would probably be a good level to short versus and risk off of. And that's basically what happened. We rejected off that 320 and faded back down. It also looks like they're pretty low on cash. There is a little bit of potential dilution as well. So that's kind of why I was short biased on this one. You know, maybe if it pops over this 280, we can keep it on watch again. But I wouldn't be surprised if it kind of forms a lower high and then fades back down. But if this were to reclaim 280 and get a lot of volume later on and break out, I would probably look towards these bigger levels, towards like 4 or 5 for a short later on. I think that would make for a really good short setup on this stock, but I'm just not sure if that's going to happen at this point. It looks pretty weak. It already broke under this 280, so not going to watch this one too closely at this point because I don't want to chase the short too much down here. But hopefully that one gives us a play later on. There's really just a few more on the gap scan that I'll go over, and then I'll pretty much be done with the watch list for now. We had this NLSP. Probably not going to do much, but I'll set a few price alerts just in case. ERYP, nice fade in pre-market. Alright, so I think I pretty much went over everything that I'm watching for now. So we still have, 20 minutes, 25 minutes until the market opens. I'm going to relax for a bit, and then I'll come back if I see any new stocks popping up or any good setups or anything like that. I'll be sure to hop on the mic and let you guys know. Also, if you guys have any questions, just feel free to type them in the live chat on YouTube. If you guys want me to look over any other stocks that maybe I missed. IMGN so far is holding that 690 level, trying to push back up. Looks like they dropped an offering there on PTPI. You can see that flush right down to $3 now. Yep. And as you guys can see, we got CRXT making a really big move here. Someone was asking KTTA for a bounce play. Let me take a look at that one. I actually traded this one yesterday. It's a really nice trade for me actually, but I ended up catching the short and fading it back down. It does have history of, this big $4 level and kind of spiking from there. So I can see why you might look at it for a bounce play. But after yesterday, I feel like a lot of people probably bought in this area, so I don't really know if we're going to get that bounce or not today. It's just not a super predictable trade for me. Maybe maybe if it builds back up a little bit towards this 440 level, but I would just be really careful on that one. But yeah, we can definitely take this PTPI off the watch list now. This is basically the reason why they ran it up yesterday, was probably just to drop this offering. So the CRXT, I just realized it has a really low float. It's around like 1 or 2 million. Looking at the daily, there is a really big level of resistance towards this $8. We traded like 40 million shares on that day towards 8, and then we have these other levels towards 10, and then we had this other massive day that we ran. So right now it really just depends on how we react to this $8 level. If this can hold its support, I wouldn't be surprised to see this maybe push towards 10. But if this $8 level fails, you know, it is pretty extended up here. It could really pull back hard. So I wouldn't be buying up here personally, and you can see we are pulling back now. Alright guys, it looks like we got about 10 seconds here, or a few seconds here till the market opens. Really nice fade there on CRXT. Can you share your Thinkorswim setup? I can share certain things, but not everything on it. If you're a member of our private Discord room, just send me a message. Or even if not, if you're in the public Discord, you can send me a message and I can help you out a little bit, but I can't give out the exact layout that I have. Someone was asking what size monitor are you using? Honestly, I'm not even sure what exact size they are. Just average monitor, I think like 27 inches. I have 4 monitors set up, so that seems to be enough for me. Sometimes I need 5, but most of the time 4 is enough. 4 is good enough. Because I do have a lot of like, I have like the Discord room and the scanners and things like that. And Ppsi is so far rejecting VWAP and fading. Ispc is rejected 24 so far. Still watching Cpix. I want to see if that one wants to break out higher. But other than that, there's nothing that I'm like super crazy about at the moment. I have been getting a lot of really good scanner plays lately that I like to trade. So that's really, I'm kind of waiting for either one of these to set up a little bit better or something really nice to pop up on the scanner. Something similar to what we just saw on CRXT, was it? CRXT. Yeah, something similar to that. I really like these extension plays and these fades. As you guys can see, Cpix is pushing towards that 450 level. VXRT is also popping up on the scans. Pretty nice spike there. Looks like CPIX is also easy to borrow on my broker, which is kind of surprising. I guess it's not like the lowest float. It's around an 8 or 9 million float. Nice spike here on WDH as well. A lot going on right now. ADGI is breaking out or trying to break out. NLSP is popping up on the scans. Kind of rejected there though. Guys, just a heads up, if you're using Trade Zero, just be careful because I'm hearing that they're having platform issues at the moment. So you might have trouble executing. Pretty big sell-off so far on IMGN, just a steady fade. Definitely has some room to the downside too, if it stays heavy. Probably see this $6 support get tested here pretty soon. CPIX still feels kind of strong at the moment, so I'm hoping this can break out higher. And there's a nice push to 460s on Cpix. Nice push so far on ADGI. Hopefully this NLSP sets up as well. Hopefully you can give another push maybe towards 3. Really nice trap there on Ppsi. Right back towards 1150. That's pretty common with a lot of these low floats, is they'll kind of sell off into the open and then just trap, and then you'll get a nice squeeze. We'll see if this turns into a continuation or not. Just trying to push towards 12. Let's take a look at the halt levels as well. So right now the halt level is actually at 1221, but it changes really quickly. And we have these all-time highs, which are pretty close too. ADGI is making a really nice move as well towards 58. So NLSP looks pretty weak at the moment. I was really hoping this would break out higher and really set up for a nice short later on, but it might just end up dying off here. might actually halt here. We're getting kind of close on ADGI. 63.26 is the halt price. 63.26 on ADGI. Very close to halting right now. And there's the halt. And big rejection there, Ppsi. This one's really trapping on both sides. And we're actually halted to the downside. You got to be really careful with these low floats because they can be very dangerous if you don't know how to control your risk. The last thing you want to do is get caught, in something like that. Still watching the CPIX pretty closely. This one's definitely a kind of like a grindy type of stock. Not my favorite type of price action, but still have an eye on it. I want to see how it reacts to this 450, if it's going to break under or if it's going to hold and try to push higher. pretty big rejection there towards 470 on Cpix. Really strong move again on ADGI. We might actually even halt again here pretty soon. 74.46 is a new halt price for now. It's actually 76.87 is the new halt price now. 76.87. Very close to halting there. So we got pretty extended there on ADGI. Might need to pull back a little bit here, but we'll see what happens. We still have this $70 support, but that was a really big move already. Big rejection there towards 25 on Ispc. A lot of these gappers are looking kind of weak at the moment. I'm hoping that this GFAI can also stay in play. You can see that this one had a big day when it ran up to like the 4s, and it did a lot of volume on that day. So there is a lot of resistance. So I'm hoping this can maybe run up towards that resistance, and I would probably look to take a short at that point if it does, get really extended. But right now, if you're long from like the 180s, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. So we'll see if the volume comes in or not though, and then we have these pre-market highs at 203. So we have to see how it reacts to that level, but yeah, just letting you guys know, this is one I would be very interested in a short if we did get extended later on. But at these levels, I'd be more long biased for now. This Cpix, is having a little bit of trouble here. I actually ended up taking a small short on this one, just like a starter position on Cpix. I don't really trust it that much for some reason. I don't really like how it trades. This type of price action, it's really a grinder. This could easily hold this 430 level and spike back up. So if that happens, I'll probably just cut my starter and then wait for this to go higher and see if it gives me a better setup later on for the short. Because if this 450 turns into support, yeah, I would definitely be careful on the short side. But we'll see what happens. If it breaks under 430s, I might get a flush down where I can cover. But I really just have a starter, so nothing big there. I don't really have trust in it. GFAI is pushing again, so I'm really going to shift my focus probably to this GFAI the higher it goes. I'm going to start to shift my focus to that. And hopefully it gives us a really nice extension. And yeah, I'm going to give this Cpix a couple more minutes. I really don't like it now. I might just have a tight stop here on the starter. I do like how it kind of rejected that 455 level just now, but it's really too early to tell. This one could go either way from here. Let's take a look at the volume. 42 million in volume, so yeah, it does have decent volume too at the moment. Here's this pullback towards VWAP on ADGI. We got really extended there earlier. Nice pop back over 70 on ADGI. Kind of a bummer on GFAI. I was hoping that could really push a little bit higher, but that one already failed. Like I said, there's all that overhead volume from that last spike, so there's probably a lot of bag holders in GFAI if I had to guess. So sometimes you won't really get that full extension, but still offered a nice little play there. This ADGI is pretty crazy, especially if it starts to build back above the 70 again and push higher. I don't think there's any resistance. I believe that I think this was an IPO from recently, so we're basically at all-time highs today. Is basically all-time highs. Alright guys, I actually cut my short position on CPIX. I only had a small starter. I just really don't, I'm not really a fan of this price action right now. So we'll see what happens on this one. I'm going to give it a little bit more time, but I think it's going to pick a direction pretty soon. This range is getting pretty tight here and it's starting to pop back over this 450. So I still have an open bias on this one for now. GFAI, really nice fade. NLSP ended up dropping pretty hard as well. But yeah, kind of a slower day for me, in terms of like the setups that I really like. Even though there's a lot of stuff moving, there's just nothing that I'm really crazy about that I want to size up on. So on days like this, I tend to just take more scalp type of trades. But it's still really early in the day. It's only been like 30-40 minutes. Things can pop up on the scanner and things can change really quickly, so definitely still keeping my eye on the scanner for when new stocks pop up. And I still think the CPIX is probably going to make a move pretty soon, but just really choppy price action. Alright, we got 460s now on CPIX. Let's see how it reacts here. Alright, we still have high of day sitting there at 475 from after the open. Definitely feels like there's a big seller here on CPIX. Every time it tries to break out, a big seller steps in, and then we get these big kind of washout candles. Alright, it looks like we do also have GBS popping up on the scans. This does have some history of some big spikes in the past. Um, Especially towards the forest, so if this one gets extended later on, I'll definitely be interested in the short, potentially. So we got MEIP popping up on the scans here as well. Looking at the daily chart, we do have kind of a big level here towards 330s. Also towards 350s. So this is definitely one I'm going to keep on watch if it can push up here. Also pretty nice to see GBS still trying to hold up. These are probably going to be my main watches over the next 30 minutes or so. But yeah, I am going to go ahead and end the YouTube screen share for now. It is a little bit slower for my type of setups, but there is still, opportunity. And it's still kind of early in the morning, so I'm hoping that we can get some more scanner plays along with GBS and MEIP, and hopefully get some nice trades later on or even towards the afternoon. So hopefully the pre-market watch list helped you guys out a little bit. If you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can just join the public Discord if you're not already in it. We have a link down there in the description. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day.